Hey everyone, this is Nathan Williams with BlackRain79.com. I'm back here with another micro stakes hand history review for you guys. Today's hand was sent to me by Lars from Denmark, and he's got pocket kings in the small blind. As you can see, this is 1 cent, 2 cent, and this was played on Zoom on PokerStars. So let's jump right into the action. So Villain 5, and actually before I start, I will say that we're going to play this hand basically without any kind of reads. Lars told me that he'd just come back to online poker, I think after a year break or so, and he's playing Zoom as well. And as you guys know, who have played Zoom before, it's fairly difficult to build up reads. Even if you're using a HUD, it's going to take quite a while for the HUD data to show up, just because there's so many players in the player pool and you're only seeing them once every 50 or 100 hands in some cases. When there's 500 people in the player pool, like you'll see at NL2 here. So basically the point of this is we basically don't know anything about anyone in this hand. We're just going to assume everyone's essentially unknown. Okay, so Villain 5, who is a full stack, he comes in for a 3x raise from the cutoff. Villain 1 on the button folds. So what should Lars do here? What should we do? So as you guys know, you probably, if you follow my blog or books or videos, you know what I'm going to do here. I'm 3-betting for sure every single time at NL2. I hate to say, I don't like to do anything 100% of the time in poker, but I think at the extremely lower stakes like this, I think you can almost really have hard and fast rules for stuff that you should and shouldn't do. As I've talked about a lot before, you really just don't have to balance anything at these stakes. Like, you can just 3-bet every single time here with kings. You don't have to balance anything against any players here because, quite frankly, nobody is paying attention at these stakes. A lot of them aren't even using a HUD. It's Zoom, so it's hard to get reads anyways. A lot of players are calling stations at these stakes. At least regarding a 3-bet, a lot of people will not fold to 3-bets at L2, no matter what they have. So you've got pocket kings. Why on earth would you not 3-bet, right? The other thing is we're out of position in this hand. It's an extremely important point. If, and I do say if, I was ever thinking about slow playing in a spot like this, of just calling, I would much rather be doing it on the button, or just a seat at the table where I'm going to be in position throughout the hand. So with all that said, this is a slam dunk 3-bet to me, and Lars agrees, and he makes it 20 cents to go. The sizing is okay. I wouldn't mind it possibly being a bit bigger. This is NL2. Talk about that in Crushing the Micro Stakes a lot, about how, and as I just said, about how they'll call anything pretty much. So I typically go about 4x here with 24 cents, but it's a minor thing. So the big blind comes along for the ride as well. He cold calls the 3-bet. Now, something I always talk about is to look at the stack size before anything in poker. And this guy started the hand with $1.34, as you see, which is roughly, I think, about 65 big blinds or so. And as I actually talked about in the last video, that's a huge tell of a bad poker player. And I've linked it many times before, but I think it's a useful article for you guys that I wrote on my blog. It's the top 5 signs of bad poker players. It's a quick little read. I'll put it in the description below. And this is like the number one most important thing. When a guy doesn't have a full stack, not always, but I would say 90% of the time, it's because he's not a good poker player. Like, maybe he's not a full-blown, he's not a crazy fish. He's not the worst player in the world, but he's not like a solid regular. He's certainly not like a really good player, because a good player is just going to want to have a full stack because that's going to allow them to win the most. Like, if you are a good player, you want to give yourself the opportunity to win the most money, so why would you ever sit with a short stack? It just makes no sense at all. So immediately when I look at this guy, I'm thinking probably some sort of recreational players. So let's see what Villain 5 does. Villain 5 actually folds, so we go to flop. So the flop comes Jack, Jack 5, which is pretty good. If we got kings here. So another thing to consider with stack sizes is something I've talked about a lot in the past, is it changes the way that we're going to play the hand. In a situation like this, I am probably just not going to be folding ever, given the stack sizes in this spot, given our hands and the board and everything. There's just nothing that's really going to allow me to get away from this hand at this point, a 3-bet pot against a guy who only started with 65 big blinds. So the only thing that we should be thinking about here is, how do we get all the money in the middle? So there's a lot of different options here. We could just go ahead and make the C-bet. It's pretty standard, but on a board like this, I actually really like Lars's decision to just check in this spot. Because what it does is it allows somebody who we think is probably a recreational player to do something silly like that. So the other thing is, like, on a board like this, we really just have nothing at all to worry about. Like, if the board was 5, 6, 7 with 2 hearts, for instance, I would be a lot more inclined to just go ahead and bet, because I do not want to allow him to check behind and get a free card. But on a board like this, Jack, Jack 5, Rainbow, it's so dry. There's no draws, no nothing. I think this is just a great board to, in some cases, give what is probably a recreational the rope to hang himself, like he's doing here, to just go on some wild bluff. Now, of course, he could have a jack. It's definitely possible, but a lot of times I will say that probably a recreational player that has a jack will slow play here. So when I see them do this, I'm just kind of just counting the money already, pretty much. So again, I really like Lars' decision to just call here as well. Remember, if we believe there's really not any point in raising here, because if we think he's on a bluff, if we just jam all the middle in, he's just going to fold right away. So the best thing to do, if we're going to take this line post flop of let him hang himself, is definitely just to call in this spot. You never ever want to be raising here, because that kind of defeats the whole purpose of what we're doing here. So the river comes with a basically an 8. It really doesn't change anything, and Lars decides to check again. And Villain shoves the rest in, and Lars correctly makes the call. And we'll see the results here, and we got Villain to go crazy with ace-8. So, yeah, Lars was telling me in the email that he likes to play these hands like this sometimes at NL2, and I will say that I completely agree with him. I do this myself in these games, and I think that he picked a really good spot here. I really like to do this on paired boards like that, Jack, Jack 5, where a recreational player like this cold called a 3-bet pre-flop. As we can see by the hand he shows up with, clearly was and is a recreational player. You know, we saw all the signs before with, you know, the stack size and stuff like that. So I think the educational value in this hand is that you don't always have to go for the bet shove. I talk about that in so many of my videos at these stakes, that you should just always jam, go for value. And I think that it is really important, as Lars showed in this hand, that you can sometimes take alternate lines at NL2. And I think it's a situation like this is a really good one, where you just have the board so incredibly crushed with kings on a Jack, Jack 5. You've got a guy who's on a short stack, who's cold called the 3-bet pre-flop. Sometimes it's okay to just check and let the guy hang himself. And as you can see, it turned out great in this spot. You know, obviously, if we just go ahead and bet the flop, chances are he's probably going to fold, and we don't get the all his money like we did in this spot. So let me know what you guys think about this hand. I'm personally a big fan of the way that Lars played this. Now, I definitely don't think you should be doing this all the time. I hope that my explanation was useful for you guys, that it's the board texture is a big consideration here. Again, I would never do this on 5, 6, 7, 2 hearts. On a board like that, I don't want to give a hand, like if it was 5, 6, 7, like ace-8, of course, has an open-ended straight draw. I don't want to give a hand like that, or 2 hearts hand, free chance to draw out. But on a board like this with Jack, Jack 5, there's really just nothing that we have to fear, really, coming on the turn. So I think it's good to mix up your play from time to time like this, and also to do this against regulars, the 3 good regulars that are in L2 these days. Maybe there's 4 of them. This is something you definitely do at higher limits. At NL2, like I said, I think you can do it in some rare cases. Hopefully my explanation was useful for you guys here, and I'm totally on board with the way that Lars played this hand, and as you can see, it turned out great. So once again, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure you like this video if you want to see more hand history reviews like this. Make sure you subscribe to my channel as well, again, to see more videos like this. Lastly, make sure you download my free ebook. It's called Massive Profit in the Micros. It's a link in the description below, and it'll give you my complete strategy on how I crush these stakes. So thanks a lot for watching, guys. It's been Nathan Williams with BlackRain79.com.